And he just said, look, you've got to just trust. And if nothing comes to your heart, don't say anything. Just sit there and don't say anything. And I was like, oh, that's not going to go down very well. But I clearly remember that, and me feeling like I wasn't channeling that wisdom yet. And then another friend of mine, one of the leaders in the Nation Pachamama movement, she just said, well, do you ask for guidance? I said, no. She said, do you ask Mother Earth to speak through you? And I was like, no. She said, well, you should, you know. Yeah. And so then and similarly to how I started that conversation of love with my body in my healing process, I began conversing with Mother Earth. And in my meditation, I would, you know, really just ask for her to speak through me. And I would ask that I be a vehicle to communicate, you know, earth wisdom and, you know, messages from the 5 elements and that sort of thing.
You got to accentuate the positive. Wow, I feel good. A little bit of feel good goes a long way.
You're listening to Karen Swain, teacher of deliberate creation, accentuating the positive, showing you a way to a better life.
Accentuating the positive, it's not just fad, it's sanity. Who in their right mind would accentuate anything else?
If you feel like that's what you want to do.
Hello and welcome to another show, Accentuating the Positive with Karen Swain. So great to be with you again. Look at this beautiful goddess I've got with me today. Look at her beautiful hair. She's a mermaid. I'm sure she's a mermaid. I've got one of Sydney's most amazing conscious leaders, Rache Moore. Rache Moore, welcome to the show, Rach.
Oh, what a beautiful introduction. Thanks, Karen. Happy to be here.
Well, you absolutely are one of Sydney's conscious leaders, and probably you'll be conquering the world soon, I would imagine. Let me just read out Rache's bio for you, and then we'll get into some questions. Rache Moore is the founder of Rainbow Tribe here in Sydney. Her mission is to empower and inspire others by creating uplifting experiences for transformation, expansion, and self-love. Rache is enchanted by earth wisdoms and the 5 elements and has guided many women through her elemental alchemy mentorship training programs to live more connected and happier lives. A yoga teacher, dance teacher, and ceremonialist.
Mouthful, isn't it?
It is
a great word.
And facilitator dedicated to reviving the art of ritual in Western culture. Having travelled the world to learn from master teachers, Rache draws from guidance from her Celtic lineage and traditions of Andean mysticism.
Andean mysticism, yeah.
Andean, is that Andean. How you say it? Andean.
There might be a typo in my bio.
No, it's me reading it because I've never seen that word Andean before. I actually Googled it, like, what does that mean? From the Andes. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Rache is strongly connected to the, okay, I'm going to get this wrong too.
Nation Pachamama.
Nation Pachamama movement in South America, where she was initiated in 2015. The lineage of Nation Pachamama teachings is based in Andean mysticism, which is an ancient shamanic tradition and practice. Wow. Tell you what, girl, you've been around the world. Listen, well, I want to start with your story because, you know, you and I have had a few chats and about spirituality and things, and you're a classic sort of Western product of Western civilization where you've gone into the corporate world, you know, trying to make money and do what you love and enjoy your life. And you didn't really think about anything. I don't want to call it woo-woo because, you know, I don't even like that word, but anything spirituality or angel or channeling or past lives or any of that stuff. So what happened to change your mind? Like, where were you? What were you doing?
I think the main catalyst was being diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis in 2009.
Right.
And living in New York City at the time, and I was managing events in a very cool bar and was getting home at 7 a.m. because I was working and decided that drinking straight whiskey because I lived in New York was a good idea. So I was really giving my body a hard time. And therefore the rheumatoid arthritis was like, hey, we don't like this. So that was the symptoms. My body started to we just got in really a lot of pain. And, you know, long story short, got diagnosed, got put on a bunch of pharmaceuticals, which I took, you know, kind of, you know, I don't want to say blindly, but when something like that happens, you know, it's quite fearful. And, you know, you're just like, okay, yes, doctor, whatever you say, doctor, 3 bags full, doctor. So I did that for 1.5 years. And then I really started to hear my body talking to me and saying, we don't like this. This is not good for us. All these really hardcore pharmaceutical drugs are they're not working. Sorry. Because I was still in pain.
So how old were you at the time that the rheumatoid
arthritis? So it was 2009. So that's 10 years ago. And I was 43. So I was 33.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, 33. So, which is my lucky number, actually. Lucky rheumatoid arthritis. Woo-hoo.
The Christ number, 33.
Blessing in disguise, you know.
Absolutely.
So to hone it back in on the point, to answer your question, what made me become more spiritual was when I started to listen to my intuitive wisdom, which was, don't do what society is telling you to do. Maybe try something else that's going to be a more empowering action, rather than putting my power in the hand of the pills, you know. And so I slowly just weaned myself off, because it's quite intense. You can't just stop taking it. You have to. I was taking 5 of these pills called methotrexate, which is a chemotherapy pill, which also happens to every now and then help rheumatoid arthritis. So I had to like wean myself off that, and then all the other meds. And I moved to Bali, and I learned how to meditate, Vedic meditation, with Laura Poole and Charlie Knowles. And I saw a healer there named Barbara Hames, who taught me, I guess, a method which is called body talk, which is about speaking kindly to your body, having conversations, loving, friendly conversations with your body, which was really the pivotal point, because I changed my relationship with my being, with my whole being, and started to love myself in that way. And so then I became empowered, because I was managing the pain and I was making my own medicine. I would go to the markets in Bali and I was making turmeric and ginger, like elixirs, like really strong stuff, blending it up. My entire apartment and my hands were always orange from all the turmeric. And it was a really magic time, actually, living in Bali and kind of changing my path, because my path when I was on the meds was all about identifying with being a victim of rheumatoid arthritis, whereas now I was identifying with being a self-healer and someone who was just empowered. So that's when things really started to sparkle.
Wow. It's a common story, actually.
Yeah,
this illness, you know, this illness is this activation. You know, I wrote a book or put out a book called Awakened by Death, but I should put out a book called Awakened by Illness, because I've had so many conversations with people where illness has been their path to their enlightenment or spiritual journey anyway. And, you know, like Tom Cronin, I had him on the show, and, you know, because they're out there being fabulous in the world, making money and looking good and having the life of Riley, you know, like living the dream, right? And then illness sort of takes them down, and they start looking at life and themselves completely differently. I love that you said you started to love your body. I think as women, we don't do that. You know, we criticize our body all the time. I'm not thin enough. I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not fat enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not short enough. I don't know. Like, we're like so conditioned into not being enough with our body focus. So, so that was beautiful that you were like loving your body, but I think just loving your being too. Like when you're in the corporate world, were you loving your life and loving your being, or?
I was, because I've always had fun, and you know, I was working largely working in the festival industry. I was working with alcohol companies, building experiences around their brands so that people would, you know, at the festival I would build a really engaging, fun, bar for X brand, so that all the festival goers would be like, oh my God, look at that epic pirate ship. I'm going to go over there. And once inside the pirate ship, you can only drink spiced rum. So therefore it was bringing people into brands with beautiful experiences, you know, and because it's alcohol brands, you get like a really nice budget. So it was really fun, and I was able to be really creative, and I enjoyed it. I was paid really well. And it was just over time, gradually, I started thinking about what I was doing with my time and my energy and my creativity. And yeah, whilst it's really cool to build a big pirate ship or whatever it is that I'm building for these brands, what am I doing, for the greater good? And some might argue, well, you're creating these really fun places for
to get drunk,
young adults to have a great time in.
Yeah.
But I'd already entered into this world, like whilst I was living in New York, I joined a women's group and started doing women's new moon circles. I was just, it was really funny how it happened. I was at a wedding in Mexico, and I was sitting next to this woman, and it just kind of came out my mouth. I was like, I really want to join a women's circle. Do you know any women's circles? And I never really thought about it. It's not like I'd written down on my, goals, join a women's circle. I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah.
And she said, funny you asked that. I've been holding a women's circle for about 10 years. You can join my circle. And
wow.
That really was another pivotal moment, was, joining these women's circles and being kind of really welcomed into the fold of, a bit more Wiccan, pagan, Celtic kind of earth-based spiritual practice, because I was never raised religiously, like most people, always, in awe of nature, and it's, pretty enchanted by the moon and things like that, but had never really kind of put it into my own personal practice. So joining this women's group every new moon was another big turning point in my life. And I to this day, I'm still doing women's circles. I've got one on Thursday for the Leo new moon. Yeah.
I know you're so active in Sydney with your events. It's amazing what you're doing, because I speak to people all across the world, both on the show, but often, more so in my online groups and as my clients, who are wanting to have this spiritual connection with people, but they're not in places, especially in America, where they have all this going on that we've got going on in Sydney. And, they join my group because it's online and they can have this discussion with the group online, but they don't have women's circles and stuff like that. So I encourage these people to start them.
Absolutely.
If you haven't. Yeah.
And that's what I love about it. It's not, it's not like a codependent, a dependent relationship where I hold the space and the women come and they have to come back to me. A lot of the women get inspired, and I also encourage them to, start your own women's circles with your own groups and make it your own. And, take the principles of, connecting to your intuition, setting intentions for the month ahead, which is usually the kind of penultimate goal of the intention of the ceremony, is to, create just for 2 hours every 28 days. Take time, reflect what the sky is doing. It's a dark sky. So be still and kind of go inwards within a group setting where you're supportive, you're allowed to be vulnerable, you're held. We do a couple of ecstatic dances to release and shake it off. Sometimes we'll do a fire ceremony. But, and it's a very old practice, and it's very simple,
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that it's a very old practice. So, okay, so take us, so you're in Bali, you're making your own concoctions, you're sort of discovering more healing practices, meditation. Then what happens?
Then I moved back to Australia. So I'd been living in New York for 4 years, decided it was time to come home, be around my friends and nature, and stopped in Bali for 6 months.
Whereabouts in Bali? Ubud or?
I was living in Canggu. And I didn't get to spend that much time in Ubud because I was also starting a fashion label while I was there. When in Bali,
Start a fashion label,
which had been brewing, which was also another reason for me to be like, yep, okay, I'm going to leave New York. Let's get out this fashion label, which was called Wild at Heart. Let's get it off the ground. And whilst I'm in Bali, I'm going to seek out these natural healers and just, live a little bit, like live away from the concrete jungle, because New York is that crazy melting pot, and it never sleeps. The energy is just always up. And, because I'm a highly excitable person, it was really hard for me to step away from that because there was always something going on. And I was really active in the Burning Man community over there, and, so many performances and theatrical shows and weekends away, and it was just fantastic, but it took a toll on my
on your health,
on my adrenals.
On your adrenals. Yeah. So how many times did you go to Burning Man? I've never been. I don't know if I'd love it or hate it. I love the visuals of it, but I don't know if I could cope with the environment, the heat and the dust and the
Yeah, well, you can choose to do it in a more luxurious way with an RV. So I went 10 times in a row.
Wow.
And the first 2 times I was still living in Australia, and then the last then the 4 times in the middle was when I started my own theme camp called Camp Bang Bang, which is still going. It's still run by a awesome bunch of crew based in Bondi largely, and so I was kind of like mother hen to 60 party kids, and I would party as well, but gradually, my I guess the things that I wanted to do with my energy, I stopped wanting to party so much. And also because of the rheumatoid arthritis, after I got diagnosed with that, I couldn't party so much, because you get fatigued, and, you can't ride your bike around in the desert for 8 hours on end when you've got rheumatoid arthritis.
Right.
So yeah, I went 10 times, and it's one of the greatest things that I've ever done in my life is go to Burning Man and be part of a theme camp. And both my brothers have been several times. My little brother's going back again this year. He started his own camp, and the friendships that you forge out there are just because it's a hard work. You got to really work. It's like really community. You got to really pull it together because you got to take everything. So yeah.
The thing about Burning Man, I think it was started under a conscious banner, but I think it attracts a lot of people that just want to go and like party and get drunk and dress up. It's not really there.
In the world.
It's the biggest party in the world, but it's not really a consciously spiritual practice for many people. It's like a big party.
No, it's definitely not a consciously spiritual practice, but what it is a really great platform for people to experience community.
Yeah.
So whether even if, of course there's some people, and they call it plug and play camps, where you just have a bunch of cash and you say, here's my 10 grand, organize my RV, all my food, this, that, and the other. And then you don't really embrace the 10 principles of Burning Man. One of them, which is radical self-reliance,
Okay.
Because part of it is like the rite of passage of actually making it there. And if you kind of buy your way in, you're going to you probably still have an amazing time, but you kind of miss out on that, the meetings with all your friends, planning all the bits, doing all the shopping, building the artwork and the structures. And, luckily we have an amazing man, Andy Resnick, who works in Hollywood as an art director, and he's helped us out. He's one of the main crew, and he helps us make really cool things for our camp, like 15-person octagonal hammocks and things like that. So yeah.
So what are the other principles of Burning Man?
Oh, now you put me on the spot. Okay, so we've got self-reliance, radical inclusion, gifting, leave no trace,
right.
Participation, immediacy, decommodification, and 3 other really awesome ones. Yeah.
So do you think that it's a model of where society can go?
I don't know how sustainable, like not the way that it is, because it would just be this wild, crazy party all the time, because there's a lot of art, a
Yeah.
lot of art, you know, and the camps themselves are art. You know. I don't know if it's a model for society. I think something more like Boom Festival is more of a model for society, because it's not about leaving no trace, because you can't really have a society that leaves no trace. Whereas Boom Festival is they use the waste, human waste, and they fertilize the ground, and they've turned the ground fertile. You know, they use everything and recycle it again. So their model is a little bit more about sustainability rather than just leaving no trace, because you leave no trace at Burning Man, but then you take all your trash and you go and dump it somewhere else.
Okay, right. Yeah.
So as far as like a model for society, yeah, you know, some parts of it for sure within the camp, the little camp ecosystem of who's going to get the ice, who's managing the water, who's cooking the dinner, who's doing this, you know, everyone has to take on a role.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, look, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I come from a future where all that sort of happens. Even as a kid, I knew I came from the future. I felt like I was in dinosaur times. But the whole waste thing, you know, I think there's really easy ways of having zero waste in this world. And anyway, people are coming up with it, and yet we still keep, you know, filling landfills full of plastic crap. And I could just, you know, anyway, one day it'll happen. Yeah. Okay, let's get back to your story. So you came back to Sydney. Were you healed of rheumatoid arthritis when you came back to Sydney?
No, I wouldn't say I'm healed, because every now and then, you know, like yesterday, my wrist was just like saying hello. You know, it was like, hey, like rest, you know, have some turmeric, that sort of thing. So the symptoms still pervade, but they're really manageable. And I'm okay with that, because it keeps me on track, you know. It keeps me really respecting my body. So if I'm out and I'm tired, I almost never push through. Whereas there was a time in my life where it was all about the push through to sunrise, you know. And so I like that it keeps me in track, and I'm grateful for that. So yeah, I came back to Sydney, and the first thing I did was start Rainbow Tribe, start the women's circles here, because I'd never heard of that in Sydney. And I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to take what I've been kind of guided in New York by this beautiful woman, Amy Dawning-Star. Started the women's circles in Sydney, and that was really the birth of Rainbow Tribe.
Well, I have to say, having been in this sort of conscious arena for a long time, we've had many women's circles in Sydney, but they come and go, people move on. And I think that you're just starting it for a new generation, and a new generation that is waking up to this sort of thing, because, you know, the older generation, there are pockets of people that have been doing it for years.
Yeah.
They move on to other things and retire and live in the Blue Mountains and paint art. But
that's it. That's a sequence. Blah, blah, blah. Live in the mountains. Yeah.
Become an artist. And, you know, paint in the garden. Yeah. But so what I'm loving about what you're doing in Sydney is you're providing this opportunity for people to look at their lives differently, to create community. Like wherever I go, I ask people, you know, who are you? How did you get here? How did you find out about it? What do you know? Like, I just quiz people, and I've done that in lines waiting to go into Rainbow Tribe events. And people have said to me, you know, oh, you know, I work in the corporate world. I've never done anything like this before. So you're attracting that, you know, those newbies. And
definitely.
I think that's really fabulous that you're doing that. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Karen. Yeah, I do like to bring in a little bit more of the ceremonial and ritual elements. So it's not just a conscious dance party, you know, because my husband Andres, he's my main DJ.
He's the DJ.
I'm his biggest fan. He plays amazing music. And I think having that element where we bring in some ritual is what really people love the most, you know, because it's something that they're not used to. There's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of places where you go and there's facilitated dance and, you know, partner up with someone and do a shadow dance. And I don't mean to have a condescending or patronizing tone when I say that, because I do that. I love doing that. And a lot of people do that at dance experiences, and it's great because, you know, if you go to the nightclubs, people are just kind of all facing the DJ doing this. They're not facing each other and playing and being playful. And that's what I just love the most. You know, recently I did a little bit of a share about this time last year. Andre and I were at Boom Festival, and they invited us to open one of the main stages on the first night, and we had about 200 people at 10 p.m. You know, we had a 2-hour set, and normally that, you know, the DJ comes on and everyone just dances, whereas this was, the DJ came on and it was like really facilitated connection. So the first dance experience they had was they got to actually meet, lock eyes, connect from the heart, you know, more like a community rather than kind of in your individual bubble. You know, there are some extroverted people on the dance floor who make a million friends, and I was always that person. I used to get in trouble from my best friends. They're like, you go and talk to those people sitting down over there. You haven't been with us all night. And then you run off to those people. You know, I did. They used to say, I think you like meeting strangers better than.
Yes.
And
like, yes.
I don't know. I think maybe that's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. I can't even remember what I was
A girl
talking
after my own heart. Look, you know, I was having dinner with Michelle last night, Michelle Mara from Five Rhythms Dance, and she, you know, said, come to yoga with me, which is great. She's getting me off the couch. And we were talking about dance because I had this experience when I was away recently of all these Aboriginal spirits coming in to chat to me. And I said, what do you want? And they said, we want you to dance the land. And what unfolded for me around the whole dance thing, you see, we see dance as a personal thing. Like, I'm going to dance because it feels good and I can move, you know, or then when we come into ritual, it feels good to connect with people and have community, but it's always personal. It's always like about me and what I'm getting out of it. Whereas they don't dance for that. They dance because they understand that movement creates energy.
Yeah.
And when you put thought energy with physical energy, you're expanding consciousness and you're expanding thought. So they dance for healing of the land, or they dance for healing of humanity. So they use their movement, they're really intent to use the movement of the dance to dance for what they want to see happen in the tribe or in the world, like the human tribe. And so that's what I'm excited about with dance, because dance creates energy. And energy, you know, shifts this world. So we can dance our way into a new humanity, you know, like it's not just about the health of my body or having a good time. And it's just such a powerful experience, this whole dancing thing.
Absolutely. And healing as well, you know. So healing.
Healing the land, we can sing the land, dance the land.
Yeah. And, you know, even at the big, I don't want to call them unconscious, but let's say they're not overly conscious.
Drunk fests. Yeah.
Well, Andre and I we came back from Splendor of the Grass last week. That's why I've got a bit of a hoarse throat. 42,000 people, beautiful, sacred Aboriginal land where the festival is held. We were part of the Global Village, which is a conscious part of Splendor. It's like the secret heartbeat of the festival. A lot of you know, Aboriginal workshops, and you know, Andre and I did our experiences every day there. And you know, even at those festivals, when there's, you know, I ran up to the top of the amphitheater for the Hilltop Hoods, the Aussie hip hop band, and they were playing nosebleed section, like classic track, and the whole crowd was dancing together, singing the song together. The Hilltop Hoods were getting them to kind of do a bit of a call and response. And even though that's not like they're not, all those people aren't consciously thinking we're in unison. I'm singing and moving with 40,000 people, and we're stomping our feet into the land with joy in our hearts. They're not consciously thinking that, but they're doing it. And, you know, I think that in itself is so healing, and it's healing for the land, even more so if you're aware of it and you're like, thank you, Mother Earth. Yes, I'm going to stamp my feet. And like with the Aboriginal dance, it's like, thank you, Father Sky. Thank you, Mother Earth and Sky. And to all my friends, you know, they really embody that with their movements. But I just, you know, as standing at the top, watching this performance and just ecstasy flooding my body, endorphins flooding my body, just watching these people doing something together. In unison, in unity, in joy, it's just oneness.
Powerful. Yeah, oneness. Yeah. Yeah, it's powerful. I mean, even it's funny, even I'm not like a sports person, but someone took me to, I've only been to one football match in my life because I'm just not into it, right? And she's like, you have to come. And I'm like, oh. And it was the same thing, like even that joy, that unison of joy, and everyone kind of cheering at the same time. Yeah. And
it's exhilarating.
Crowd of people screaming.
Yep.
I'm like, oh my God. Yeah.
And that's the thing that in the Western world and maybe the wider world, that we don't take that exhilaration of thousands of people doing something together, using our voice and our body, directing that energy for a greater good.
Yes.
We're directing it to the footy players.
Yeah.
Which is great. Good on them. They don't get
the rock
paid
band.
much.
Yeah.
The
footy millionaires.
Yeah. And at the crowds, we're doing it to the musicians. They work hard. They deserve it. But, getting the crowd and directing that energy, to the greater good, to someone that's sick, to the idea of, people that are hungry or whatever, it's getting a little wishy-washy what I'm talking about, but I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because there's so much power in that.
Absolutely.
That energy is like, if I can stand at the top of a hill and be flooded with light from a crowd cheering, that light is magic. That's healing.
Absolutely. Oh, darling, well, I see you facilitating massive crowds to do that, directing that energy.
Yeah.
Like there are musicians like that are doing that. That's why I'm so excited about the conscious music movement, like Medicine for the People and
Elijah Ray, Frank
Elijah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Lulu Mishka, Murray Kyle. Oh,
Murray. I mean, they're all, Lulu Mishka are doing it more in a kirtan sort of fun way. But these big crowds, like, like the Medicine for the People get these massive crowds. And he stands up there on his podium and he speaks his truth and he gets everyone engaged in that.
Yeah.
Whether it's earth care or people care or, so it's powerful. It is. It's the way this world will. Yeah, it's all about coming together to transform this world. And
Oka's really good at that as well. The Aussie group from the sunny coast, Oka, they're great at that. Yeah.
All right. Well, where are we with your story? So you came back to Sydney. You started Rainbow Tribe, and like, what else happened on yours? Because you and I have had this conversation about speaking to your tribe. Like I, go down the rabbit hole. So I'm talking to angels and spirit guides and ETs and deliberate creation. And, where are you going with your tribe? I mean, spiritual exploration.
When you talk about my tribe, do you mean my spirit guides that you introduced me to last week?
No, your people tribe, your Rainbow tribe.
Like the actual humans.
The human tribe.
Right. Say the question again. How do I speak to them?
Yeah. What do you want them to know? And how far, where did your spiritual journey take you? Like how far down the rabbit hole have you gone in your exploration of consciousness and all that it is to be deliberately conscious?
Well, I kind of explored the things that charmed me along the way. Like, I've done several ayahuasca adventures to go to that sparkly realm. And, for me, I think it's really in meditation where I get to go to those subtle layers. And I don't feel like I've gone as far down the rabbit hole as a lot of others, yourself included. I feel that my contact with the more ethereal realm and that stream of consciousness that we get to kind of tap into whenever we make time and space, that's where I touch that place in meditation. And now, after doing what I do for this many years, now I'm able to channel that when I'm holding an event and I enter that space of ritual. So as soon as, sometimes it happens as soon as I sit down and wait for people to arrive, and other times it happens as soon as we take those initial 3 breaths. But I definitely remember a time, and it would have been maybe only 5 years ago, And I was at my first ayahuasca ceremony, and it was the next day, and the shaman had done his thing the night before. And of course, you're under the influence of ayahuasca, so everything is even more beautiful and romantic and seductive and whatever. And I just, the next day I was like, how do you speak like that? How, I said, I hold these events and these women's circles, and I want to be able to just speak with this eloquence and this articulation from the heart. Whereas, up until that stage, a lot of it, I would kind of study what the moon was doing, and it would be more of a logical brain, analytical brain preparation.
Yeah.
And he just said, look, you've got to just trust. And if nothing comes to your heart, don't say anything. Just sit there and don't say anything. And I was like, oh, that's not going to go down very well. But I clearly remember that, and me feeling like I wasn't channeling that wisdom yet. And then another friend of mine, one of the leaders in the Nation Pachamama movement, she just said, well, do you ask for guidance? I said, no. She said, do you ask Mother Earth to speak through you? And I was like, no. She said, well, you should, And so then and similarly to how I started that conversation of love with my body in my healing process, I began conversing with Mother Earth. And in my meditation, I would, really just ask for her to speak through me. And I would ask that I be a vehicle to communicate, earth wisdom and, messages from the 5 elements and that sort of thing. And now I can't prep. If I try and prepare for my next new moon ceremony, it's almost like the universe sends in writer's block, and it's like, you don't know what you're going to say because you don't know who's going to be there. You need to just wait and feel that, and then just trust. And now I'm in that space of trust, and I just love that. And it was a very gradual process, like as dusk goes from day to night, not like turning a light on. It was like over time.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect. Beautifully illustrated. And I think that's what we're all doing too, because I attract the people that listen and watch these shows that I put out. I call them the New World Teachers. And New World Teachers are people that are on their own path, and then they share that with others. So however they do that, they share it by talking to others, they share it by having groups, they share it by facilitating dance or singing or workshops, or they get online and do podcasts, or they write books or poetry or whatever. It's just sharing, as Wayne Dyer would say, get that music out of you before you leave this planet. And that's just so beautifully said for people on their journey, that journey of channeling. It's ask, allow. And just what you said about preparing, preparing is actually not allowing. Preparing is saying, I can't do it, so I need to prepare. And just that trust is allowing. It's like, I'll just show up and you'll speak through me. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's that allowing process.
Exactly.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
So what is that Pachamama? Let's talk about the Pachamama.
Right. So Nation Pachamama is a movement pretty much based out of South America. They have little pods and pockets around the world. There's a few of us in Australia that really resonate with the teachings. And it's, the kind of the man that shares the teachings, his name is Lucidor Flores, and he lives in the Andes. He's from Argentina. And basically it's not just a group, it's a movement, because they're very active. So they come together and they have on the autumn equinox and the spring equinox, they do like a 21-day meditation where they start on the 1st of March and then again on the 1st of September. And it's these beautiful teachings every day. And anyone around the world can join in this. It's called the 21-day practice. And, you start off the day and it's like you have a vegan diet, and it's about cleansing the mind, body, and spirit. So that's, it goes over the 21 days, and there's these beautiful, romantic, poetic soul teachings that Lucidor channels, and he shares, it's kind of, you get it in a booklet. So that's kind of one of the things that they do for the general public. But as far as their day-to-day activities, they're really active in South America. They've built, I believe, 7 largely off-grid communities around Brazil and Argentina, where people can go and they can hold workshops, retreats, meditation, things. And I've spent 2 weeks in one of those communities in Brazil a couple of years ago. Their goal or their aim, I guess, is to get people to fall back in love with Mother Earth. And they have this almost erotic relationship with nature that I really have learnt a lot from. It's not sexual, but it's just, I think also because they're Brazilian, they have that sensuality.
That, I love that. I've never heard that before. An erotic relationship with nature. Absolutely. I love that. I've never heard that.
And it's really charming, and so they have lawyers and judges and things like that who are part of the movement, who go to the UN and are like fighting for the rights of Mother Earth. So they don't just sit in a room and meditate and say, oh, the flowers are so pretty. Like, they get shit done. They're like shaking stuff up, and they're very educated, and and it's not it costs next to no money to be part of the movement. It's not like, oh, pay $1,000 and be in the movement. It's like, the 21-day meditation is like, I don't know, it's like $30 or something, non-existent, So it's really about community. Nation Pachamama, it's like the whole world is Mother Earth. So it's sharing these teachings. And the teachings all come from the Andean mysticism lineage. So Queiroz, the little town, a lot of people that are doing a lot of the plant medicine are connected to the Quechua people and Queiroz. And this is this. Do you know about Queiroz? The little.
I don't. No,
I don't know.
I've never been over there, and I've never done ayahuasca. I've sort of not participated, so I'm fascinated, and I'm sure people listening to this are too. To hear
well, the
more
Nation
about
Pachamama, they're not into plant medicine. The only medicine that they have is love. That's it. It's love for nature. But I just kind of mentioned plant medicine because a lot of the people that kind of work with with this kind of Andean, spiritual practices, a lot of the time it does bring in, cacao or ayahuasca or San Pedro or whatever it is. So I kind of like that that's not part of what they teach. It's like, you don't need any of that to fall in love with nature, which is what a lot of that plant medicine, in my opinion, does, is it opens your soul to the exquisite beauty of nature, and it allows you to see the fractal magic in leaves and trees and air, so and Lucidor's teachings are very romantic, and they're very poetic, and it's all about being still, not trying to get anywhere, observe the present moments, and be kind, but also have action, which I love. I love that they also inspire you to, to do good and to not just pray for, healing, but to go out.
Well, praying is powerful. I mean, praying is potent. But getting back to that sort of dance that we were talking about, like when you put prayer with movement, you just amplify energy. So action, it's not about what you do, it's just about doing something with intent. It's like whatever you do, whether you're cleaning the house or at the gym or, like putting action with intent or energy, like with your prayer. So like seeing the world, like I think I posted something on Facebook recently. We have, what was it? The woman that wrote Harry Potter.
J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling, she said, we have the tools to create a new humanity. It's our imagination. Dream a new existence into existence, like dream it into existence. Because this world has been, as it is, has been dreamt into existence by what we think and feel and the actions we take from those feelings and thoughts. And so if we can create chaos, we can create bliss, right?
Someone just needs to tell that to Hollywood, really. They need to tell them to stop making films about Armageddon and war and bring some more Avatar back into the bloody script.
I know. Well, Avatar's about war too. I was watching a trailer on the new Avatar coming out next year, I think, Avatar 2.
Is there?
Yeah, that's been a long time in the making. But and I'm so excited, and then I'm like looking at the trailer thinking, more war. It's more fighting, more war. I know, it's really monotonous, the whole let's fight each other and kill each other. And I know. But anyway, so we need brilliant minds like you, Rache Moore, people that are creative, ecstatic, like what did you say? In love with nature, not in love with nature. What did you say?
The erotic relationship with nature.
Erotic
Natural eroticism.
To create movies, create parties, create community, to create a new world, like these creative beings that have directed focus into love and not into destruction. That's what this new world's all about.
And that's really what it is. That's why I create these experiences, whether it's an intimate women's circle or a one-on-one or the big 200 people solstice celebrations. It's giving, some people it's the first time that they taste or touch or see or smell that kind of way of being in life, by calling in the directions and connecting to the elements as teachers and bringing in, because you start to expand who you are when you start to bring these other realms in, so it's like, instead of creating movies, I feel like I'm just creating these experiences where my light, if you want to just call it that for use of a word, can further ignite other people's lights that maybe were just kind of flickering quite unnoticed before, and then we all just get lit up like a candelabra, and it's just beautiful.
Beautiful. Well, when you were talking about that erotic relationship with nature, I saw all these white sparkles just go above my computer, and I'm like, who is that? And they said to me, we're the fairies, we're the elementals, like we're the beings or points of light. If you can see a being not as a person but as a conscious point of light, call them fairies. They can manifest in fairy form, like with little beings with wings. People have seen them, but they are points of light, much like the angels. They're the angelic realm that look after nature. We've got, like, humans have our angelic realm, and then nature has her angelic realm that tend to and look after nature. And when you said what is erotic relationship, they just went like they just lit up. I'm like, oh my God. Wow. Okay, so we'll wrap this up. We've been going for about an hour. Beautiful. What would your message be? What message would you like to leave with people? What's your message to the world?
I just love the quote from Roald Dahl that those that don't believe in magic will never find it. And I think that slowly people are starting to feel the song of nature that's singing more and more loudly, and it's almost like that mermaid siren song that's starting to enchant people. And my message is just if you do start to hear that, or if you're curious, and I'm sure the people that watch your show are the ones that are either putting it into practice or they're the curious ones, is to just feed that curiosity and explore different modalities and different teachers. And, you really just start to build your own version of reality. Like you said, we've got to create this brave new world, and it starts from creating our own brave new world, the most romantic, erotic, exotic, colorful, radiant version.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so where can people find out more about you?
People can always go to the website, rainbowtribe.com, or you can follow on Instagram, which is rainbowtribe_. And then those people that are in Sydney that want to come to our events, you can join the group Rainbow Tribe Events, and there's the page there as well. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Oh, darling one, thank you so much for being on
Thanks.
this.
It was great fun. Thanks, darling.
Bye.
Yay. Bye.
Isn't she beautiful? The wonderful Rache Moore from Rainbow Tribes here in Sydney. Oh, such a light. She really is such a light. A few years ago, I met her because we were also hanging in the same tribe, going to the same events. And I said to her, you really are very special. You're going to do big things in this world. And she said, oh, thanks for the encouragement. But I wasn't really encouraging her as much as tuning into who she is. And she's got the big guns working with her on the other side. She's got all the archangels and everyone working with her as she illuminates and uplifts humanity, through her events and just through everything she does, really. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful woman in this world. Thanks again for watching another show accentuating the positive. And I hope this has inspired you to start your own groups. If you're out there, if you can't find groups, start your own. Start a dance group, start an art group, start a poetry group, start a singing group, start a meditation group. Just do it. Just do it. Just get people together and let's direct our powerful intent and focus, because that's how we change this world. Coming together in groups. You can do it online. You can do it in person. You can do it any way you want. And directing our powerful focus. That's how we're going to change this world, by directing the power of being deliberate creators, deliberate with our focus and our energy. And our energy is not just our mental energy, but our physical energy too. Like when you're on the treadmill, if you go to the gym, I don't, or in a yoga class, and you're feeling hot and you're feeling that energy move, turn your thoughts to what you want instead of what you're afraid of or what you fear or what you don't want. Like turn your thoughts to what you want and use the energy that you're generating to expand that dream into a reality. That's how we create this world and our world. Oh, beautiful conversation. She actually has her own radio show as well on Bondi Radio, which is a community radio station here in Sydney, and I'll be chatting with her on Thursday. This Thursday, what's the date this Thursday, which will be 1st of August somewhere. We're the 31st of July today. I might be there before I put this up. So Thursday is the 1st of August. There we are. And I'll be maybe sharing that on my Facebook page. I'll live stream it on my Facebook page. And she'll be live streaming it on her Facebook page too, if you want to listen to us doing some more yakking about life, love, and the universe and consciousness. And coming up in the Inner Sanctum next month, August Inner Sanctum, is Rafael Tamora. She's actually, I just saw on her Facebook page this morning, Bill Bennett, who made, I had him on the show a few months back. He made a documentary called Intuition is Your Personal Guidance System, PGS. Intuition is Your Personal Guidance System. And he's making another doco about fear. And he's traveling the world once again, speaking to spiritual teachers and masters across the world. And I saw that Raphael has just been interviewed for his next documentary. So that's beautiful. That'll be coming out probably, I don't know when that will come out, when he gets it, maybe next year, or how long he'll take to get it out there. But fear, what it means, how to overcome it, how to use it. Fear, we can be false evidence appearing real, or it can be feeling alive and ready. Is that how? There's a couple of acronyms for fear. So fear is a good thing and a bad thing. Like fear is, we can use fear when we feel that energy of fear. It might be guidance rather than just our limiting thoughts, squashing us. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Bill does with fear. But Raphael talks about animal communication and reincarnation, and she's also an amazing psychic and spiritual teacher. So it's going to be a beautiful conversation with her. And of course, I'm online once or twice a month, every month in the Inner Sanctum, allowing you to share your stories. And we have this group that supports each other. And I facilitate the group and I do a bit of teaching, but I kind of let you be the teacher too, rather than just being the teacher. I think the best teachers in the world are the ones that create more teachers. Not more students, but more teachers. So in the Inner Sanctum, that's what I do. I teach you to be the teacher, or allow you to be the teacher and share your experiences and support you as you start your own groups, facilitating your own groups, or doing whatever you want to do to uplift and help this world, just sharing your story. So that's a couple of times we're online a month during the Inner Sanctum. It's very inexpensive, so join us. And I'll see you again next week for another show, Accentuating the Positive with Karen Swain. Love you all. Remember to buy the book, Awakened by Death. Big love. Bye for now.